Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Well, kind of a generalist Yu-Gi-Oh video as well. We're going to be taking a look at another Twitter thread that I have some thoughts on. And I'm going to warn y'all up front, if you're not into this kind of video, this is going to be a very, soapboxy kind of video. I have some thoughts about current Yu-Gi-Oh discourse in general, as well as specific points, and I will be sharing those today. So, recently, yesterday, 2 days ago, I think this video is actually going out, MBT had a Twitter thread referring to Abyss defending Kashtira Unicorn. I think from what I understand from following the Twitter thread is that Kashtira Unicorn being featured in, a number of decks that have done well recently in the TCG has people, all up in arms about the extra deck rip. A lot of people are not a fan of this type of effect. Abyss was saying, always cooking decks out here, and definitely with the cash package, was kind of defending Unicorn, saying that it's not an auto-win card as a lot of people claim to be. And MBT hopped in the conversation saying, Abyss has been raked over the coals all day for Unicorn defense, so I'm going to have an actual discussion about the ED rep. Do you view the effect as an annoying auto-win, or as an effect you have to account for, or play around as part of the end board? This is kind of culminated from a lot of people saying that they think that Kashtira Unicorn needs to be banned. So, I'm not going to actually start by getting into this specific bit of discourse. I will give my thoughts on it later on in the video, but, especially about some stuff that's been said. But I want to give more thoughts about this type of discourse in general that seems to, overtake the Yu-Gi-Oh community. And I'm going to level with you. In my opinion, engaging in this type of discourse frequently is the #1 thing that is stopping you from being a competitive player. I just want to point out, too, that when I kind of go into this topic a little bit, I'm sharing the perspective of a Yu-Gi-Oh player whose main goal when it comes to discussing Yu-Gi-Oh with other players is to learn things from them and apply them to my own gameplay so that I can improve. I don't think I'm alone in that goal. In fact, I think the majority of Yu-Gi-Oh players would also consider that their goal, but they don't act in a way that is consistent with that goal. I want to talk about ban list discussion in general. More, I want to ask the question, why do we have it? I think of all the TCGs I've played, Yu-Gi-Oh is by far the one that is most filled with the discussion of if particular cards should be banned or limited or hit on the ban list in general. And, fuck, I'm just gonna say it. I think this is a complete waste of time. Again, with the mindset that your primary goal is to improve at the game. If your primary goal in interacting with other players is to improve at the game, talking about what cards you each think should be banned is by far the biggest waste of time I could possibly conceive of. And I think the only reason that it really does get to me at a certain point is that this is the only thing Yu-Gi-Oh players seem to want to talk about in a competitive space. I actually had a Twitter thread myself about it, not that it gained as much traction as this one, but where I kind of posed the question of why is this the case? Why don't we ever want to talk about, meta-specific tech? Why don't we ever want to talk about the intricacies of certain matchups? Why don't we ever want to talk about how to play under common situations that meta deck will put you in? Why is the purveying conversation in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh always, literally 90% of the time, that is not an exaggeration, 90% of the time, people talking about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh are asking, should this card get banned? And I fail to see any amount of productivity in this. Now, I'm not saying this discussion doesn't have a place at all. If you want to have this conversation, certainly have it. But again, it's all people want to engage in. Why is it a question of should Kashtira Unicorn be banned or not? Who does this help? Who does having this conversation help? I think the main motivation for having conversations like this one here is that people want to find validity through their viewpoint of game design. And I don't think that that is an invalid thing to want. But I do have to question why we're so obsessed with game design as competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players. Again, I'm not saying this conversation doesn't have a place at all, but why is this the only conversation we're having? Why do we think this is up to us? It's not. One of the most common responses I've seen to posing a question like this, because I've often said this before in more in terms of like how pointless I think it is to complain about Maxi and thinking it should get banned. The most common response is, well, if we're vocal about it, then maybe Konami will do something about it. We all know this is not the case. We've told ourselves, I'm somebody who's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Literally since 2004. I've been playing competitively. Playing competitively means topping regionals and going to WCQs, by the way. I've been doing that. I did that from 2007 until 2014. And it was a very similar story back then, you know? A lot of purveying Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion was what people think should get banned. And again, a lot of the idea behind that, a lot of people's justification behind that was to say, well, if we talk about it, then Konami will have to listen. They don't. They absolutely don't. And we all know deep down that they don't. And I know, not just deep down, but wholeheartedly up front, as somebody who's observed this for 20 years, that they don't. Especially Konami of America. Listen, if you think any decision ban list-wise made by Konami of America is for the health of the game, could not be more wrong. Could absolutely not be more wrong. This includes hitting generic stuff like Appaloosa and Baron, by the way. They don't hit that stuff so you guys can have better decks. They hit it so you can't rely on generic cards and have to buy the latest archetypes. But anyway, I do think that Konami of America's, frankly, awful decisions to ban things for this reason does fuel the discussion of should this card be banned. And I really think that at a certain point in time, this question loses sincerity. Now, I think that point in time is long since passed for me. Like, when people say Kashtira Unicorn should be banned, I don't hear the person saying Kashtira Unicorn being banned would be good for the overall health of the game because it is too powerful. I hear, I dislike Kashtira Unicorn, and I don't want to play against it. Therefore, I think I should be banned. And I've encountered multiple people in the comment section who think this is a valid stance. Listen, I've said this a million times. It is valid to be frustrated by a card. It is valid to not want to play against that card. It is valid to have the thought, it would be nice if this card were banned, so that way I don't have to play against it. But to know and acknowledge that a card is not a problem power level wise, and still think that it is okay to ban it, for the simple fact that you don't want to play against it, that you think that is okay for the overall health of the game, that I struggle to find validity in. I view that as selfish. I view that as narrow-minded. I view that as childish. I view that as somebody saying, I don't like this thing, so nobody should be allowed to enjoy it, even if they like it. I think it's childish. I really do. I'm not backing down on that point. I'm not, to think that it is a valid hit for the overall health of the game because you don't like it? Yeah, I think that's childish. Now, a lot of what people try to dress this point up as is a discussion of game design. And we see a lot of that in a lot of the replies here. A lot of these replies that are against the existence of Kashtira Unicorn are on principle. I'm not going to point anyone out in specific because I see a lot of them. But this is where I kind of circle back to my original point of, okay, but why are we having this discussion in the first place? Okay, that's a poor way to phrase it. Why is this the most purveying type of conversation in Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitive spaces? Why is it seemingly the only thing people want to talk about? Again, if you want to find validity through your perspective on game design, that's fine. Just know that that's not going to help you improve as a player. And, you know, somebody, I had someone comment in one of my threads that pointed out that, like, when it comes to threads like these, you almost never see, like, pro players chiming in on them. You almost never see Jesse Cotton's, Josh Schmidt's, etc. is weighing in on these threads. They might make like a YouTube video about it, like kind of like I am, like glancing over the thread for content. But as far as like being a part of this discussion, you don't see a lot of really players who do consistently well at high level events here. You know why? Because they know it's a waste of time. Because they're focused first and foremost on improving at the game, which is again the perspective I am coming at this from. That's their primary focus. And they know that this is not helpful in that. Nothing in this is helpful about that. Talking about game design, about how decks should be, or cards should be overall, is not going to help you improve in the game. But it's the purveying public competitive talking point. I don't know. It's really frustrating to me. This is something that I've talked about a lot before. I think this maybe is something I've even made a specific video about before, but yeah, it's why I struggle when I hear people say I think Kashtira unicorns should be banned, only to then follow up with, well, the principle of game design should be, and it's like, okay, but when we're talking about the power level of the current format, that's a completely different point. Completely different. You know, I think about... It's funny, because I say people who do very well don't typically engage in these kind of discussions. I can actually think of a notable exception in my head. I'm not going to name this person. I can think of a player who I've played against in tournaments before, who I really looked up to. Still really look up to in terms of their skill. I think they're a fantastic player. Every game I've had against them has been very, very good, back and forth, extremely engaging. They very consistently put up very good results. And when I first became acquainted with this person, I was very, very eager. I was so eager to start following their socials, watching their gameplay, to learn, right? To see what they have to say. And as time went on, and I followed this person, and the things they had to say proved to be exclusively complaining about issues they have with cards from a game design perspective. And it seems like the only thing they had to say was, I lost to this card in the Duelist Cup. It was bullshit. I think it should be banned. I was beyond disappointed. Absolutely beyond disappointed. I thought, what a missed opportunity. There's so much to learn from this person. They have so much insight to share, but this is what they choose to say. So disappointing. And it got frustrating to a point where I was like, you know, despite having, from a play perspective, from a skill at the game perspective, a great deal of respect for this person, which I still have in that regard. I still hold that opinion. I had to stop following them because I was just like, this is just the constant, like, this is bullshit. This is bad game design. This needs to be banned for that reason. It's just exhausting. It really is. It's not helpful. It's not productive. It's frustrating and exhausting. Yeah, I think that's really where I'm coming at in this video. I think that's really my perspective. That's the main point that I'm trying to get across. And I've talked to other people who feel this way. I know I'm not alone in this, but I don't know. It's just I'm just sick of it. And it's really not limited to just TCG. I know I kind of insinuated that earlier, but MD absolutely has this problem. It's genuinely frustrating that there's been a lot of times where I've tried to talk about Max C, both in my videos and with people in text-based, you know, like social media or Discord servers or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, I think the best point to Max C, you know, or to play around Max C in this matchup, only to so often have the conversation devolve into, yeah, but it's bullshit, we have to put up with it anyway. They should really just ban Max C. And it's like, you think? One, wow, what a bold and shocking opinion. Two, again, just it's bad enough to have banless talk excessively in the place of actual competitive discussion, but to have moments where you almost have genuine good competitive discussion only for somebody to ruin it with banless talk, it's just so disappointing. So disappointing. I did promise I'd weigh in on this particular topic as well. And I mean, my response is right here. I'll just read it aloud. The latter for so MBT asks again. Do you view the effect of Kashtira annoying or Kashtira unicorn? Kashtira annoying. Do you view the effect of Kashtira unicorn as an annoying auto win, or as an effect you have to account for and play around as part of the end board? My stance is the latter, for sure. TCG has a bad habit of calling things auto-win that aren't anywhere near close to that power level. There are a lot of matchups where it can be really inconvenient, but I've won plenty of games where they hit the important one of in the extra deck. And I mean, that has remained true. That has remained true. I've won, again, talking from an MD perspective, I've won Synchron games where they banish my Junk Speeder. I've won Sekai games where they banish Princess. I've won Tier Limit games where they banish Kitkalos. It's not impossible. And I've even referred to this recently in my videos, right? Where what video was it actually? I'm trying to remember. Well, it was the Melodious video, right? Where the Melodious end board was like Appaloosa IP Baron or something to that effect. That is an end board that I've seen a lot of TCG players on Twitter specifically refer to as an auto-win end board. That's incredibly disingenuous. Incredibly disingenuous. I think the phrase auto-win should be removed from competitive TCG discussion. It really holds no bearing. There's really no point in discussing... Well, because here's the thing, right? Things that are called auto-win are not, and anything that is truly auto-win, like an FTK that's resolving, there's not really much point in discussing that because it's going to win anyway. It's a vehicle to complain. It's a vehicle for people to complain, which is really the primary goal here. And listen, again, I'm not saying that it's invalid to want to complain. I just really wish it wasn't the only thing that people did. I think that Joseph says it best right here. At a certain point, I think a significant amount of you are just mad your opponent gets to play the game against you at all. That's kind of how I feel about this discussion about Unicorn. And I mean, God, how many players, how many people out there do you see, Master Duel specifically, who talk about like, oh yeah, if they use a hand trap against me turn one, I just concede. Oh yeah, if they go first and I don't open a hand trap, I just concede. And that's just wild to me. To claim that you want to enjoy competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And improve at it, and also make those statements, yeah, I'll agree with Joseph. You are just mad that your opponent gets to play the game at all. But I don't know. I don't know that I have much more else to say about this beyond this. Again, I'm always really antsy about putting this style of video out there because I always think that people are just gonna hate it, but people do tend to respond. Or at least the last couple of times I've responded or posted videos like this, people have responded generally pretty well. So hopefully that is the case for you. I don't know. If you disagree, you probably didn't get this far in the video, but that's completely okay. And you are absolutely welcome to voice that in the comment section below. In fact, I welcome that. I just, as always, never ask that we avoid rudeness. I do apologize if anything I said came across as rudeness. I know I sounded very impassioned. It is not anger towards any one person or any group of people. It's really more just, again, my main frustration comes from the lack of competitive discussion, more so than the fact that bandless discussion exists at all. That's my main point. So that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you if you actually did watch this whole video. Oh, I really do appreciate that. But that is gonna go ahead and do it for this one. So I think we're just gonna move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested in, you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free. And if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.